Now
on News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
O'Connor and Company.
It is 7:07 on News Talk 105.9 WMAL. We are making sense of the news. One of the best things about doing the show, being on O'Connor and Company, filling in for Larry on a Friday. And by the way, I'm Andrew Langer, in for Larry O'Connor. This is my last day this week. Is that I get to work with Patrice Onwuka. And one of the best things about working with Patrice Onwuka is she embraces the spirit of Friday. It doesn't have to be Labor Day weekend. It could be any Friday. Because, Patrice, it is not Friday. It is
Fry-yay.
Fry-yay. And that's exactly right. The spirit of Friday. Listen, we got a great show coming up this hour. We're going to be joined by Hans von Spakovsky from the Heritage Foundation later on in the show. Then in the next hour, Denise Rucker-Krepp to talk about crime. We've been talking about the president's schedule, and I got to imagine, Patrice, listen, as it is a great point, a wonderful point in one's journalistic career to become the White House reporter for an entity. But it's got to be frustrating when you have a closed-off press that is hostile to certain viewpoints in the newsroom. Oh, and a president who, calls lids and press availability earlier and earlier in the day. Joining us now is Phil Wegmann. He is the White House reporter at Real Clear Politics. Love RCP. Go and check them out. So this is Karine Jean-Pierre seemed insulted by the idea that President Biden is calling earlier and earlier lids, Phil Wegmann. But those are the facts, aren't they?
Yeah, this administration has not been afraid to call a lid, to officially say that the news of the day is over, and send reporters home pretty early.
I mean, it has become a point where if you're a White House reporter, it's getting earlier and earlier that the White House is essentially wanting to go outside and look at the White House smokestack. And if the smoke is gray, it means that the lid is called for the day. If it's white, it means the president's available. I'm sorry. Patrice, I know you had a question.
No worries. So, Phil, I mean, I think there's a lot on the president's plate right now, right? We've got the government funding coming to an end at the end of this month. We've got, obviously, Hawaii, Florida, natural disasters. We've got the southern border, and it's spreading to all of these Democratic-run cities that are currently sanctuary cities, and those mayors are kicking up dust. So, Where is the White House in all of this? I mean, it seems like their head is in the sand, or are they even tackling any of these issues?
So the White House would insist that, yes, there are many challenges, but they are rising to the moment. And certainly I think that the natural disasters and some of those crises are a good example of this. You have the president recently traveling to Hawaii to see the response to the wildfires there. He's going to be going to Florida, on Saturday. And so the response of the administration is, what are you talking about? This is a president who has been underestimated, who has been written off. Say what you want about him, but he's risen to the moment and gotten a lot done. And that may or may not be true. Certainly, there are some accomplishments from President Biden, but this criticism that he is tired, that he calls it a day early. That's one that they find particularly frustrating. I think it's a particular vulnerability that they're trying to avoid as we go into an election year.
We're talking with Philip Wegmann. He is the White House correspondent for Real Clear Politics, realclearpolitics.com. So Patrice and I, we both sort of covered our mouths listening to this clip. Let's play this clip. Peter Doocy, your colleague Peter Doocy, talking about the Maui fires and Joe Biden being on vacation.
And it seems like the hurricane response so far is robust. Did you guys realize that the initial Hawaii wildfire response was not that good? Or is it just easier for people to get help from the White House when the president is not on vacation?
So the premise of your question and the way you posed your question, I disagree, just for the record. So if you were to do your reporting and speak to the governor of Hawaii, the senators of Hawaii, the folks on the ground, they would say that the president reacted in record time when it came to dealing with the wildfires, when it came to dealing and making sure that they got everything that they need on the federal level.
So Philip Wegmann from Real Clear Politics, did the White House react in record time to the Maui wildfires?
Well, even listening to that clip again, I'm just kind of reminded that, Peter has one speed, and that's aggressive. He certainly doesn't pull his punches. The administration, they will point out that within hours of the Maui wildfire, the FEMA administrator was aware of the situation, that they were activating resources. There does seem to be a delay, certainly, in how some of the resources were rushed to Hawaii. The president, he did not arrive until much later, and there's frustration on the island. But linking these two natural disasters, I think that the White House was aghast that someone would infer that they were more on the ball because of what happened in Hawaii, that they were better prepared to deal with the Florida crisis. But honestly, there probably is some truth to that. Not because they were worried about their response in Hawaii, but because that's just kind of the nature of these things. When you deal with one crisis, that does kind of prepare you for the next one, even if it was wildfires in Hawaii and now a tropical storm in Florida.
Sorry, Patrice, I know you wanted to jump in here.
So there's this new tell-all book, right, that is diving into kind of the Biden world. And we're seeing dribs and drabs trickle out based on some of the things that are being made. And I think part of the discussion about lids being called early and the early days for the President Biden is because he needs that time to rest. How is have you gotten any sense that the White House is going to be tackling this tell-all? They're going to just kind of totally ignore it and pretend that it's not happening, or have you seen any? Have they been talking about refuting some of the accusations that may be in that book?
So this is the White House's least favorite topic, because in a way, and it's inescapable. The claim of this book is that, as you say, the president, he's an older gentleman. He finds his job taxing, and so because he's tired, he limits his own schedule. Mm-hmm. The White House has been dealing with, this critique, not just from the beginning of the president's term, but going back to the campaign. And, the way they respond is by saying, all right, if that's how you want to judge the president because he's 80 years old, well, make sure that you look at all of his accomplishments as well as legislative accomplishments. Mm-hmm. We're going to see how that sells on the campaign trail.
Oh, yeah.
In 2024, it's going to be a lot more difficult to sort of run a more, contained, limited Zoom campaign like the president did last time around during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Well, unless they lock us down again, which we're starting to hear rumblings about. Philip Wegmann, listen, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so very much for joining us today.
Thank you, Phil.
Thank you.
That's Phil Wegmann. He's the White House correspondent for Real Clear Politics. Check him out, Real Clear Politics.